Culturally Clueless.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to a brand new episode of Culturally Clueless. I hope you guys are doing great. It's winter time and it's very cold here, and I am privileged to get the heck out of here in a few weeks and get some traveling in. Which means we're going to be probably 1 week or most 2 weeks without an episode. 1 week definitely. For the second week, I'm working on something, and I hope it works out, inshallah, so that we don't have to go 2 weeks without an episode, because I am not going to be able to record while I'm away. I'm somewhat on a secret mission. But you never know. Spontaneous things happen, or things can happen spontaneously, I should say. So just saying that, but until then, we still have a few more weeks to go. So we have a couple of more episodes, or a few more episodes.
People talking loud, everybody's got a tape. Scrolling through the headlines, don't know what's real or fake. Late night conversations, what's the truth we chase? World keeps changing pace, but we're all in the race.
Now let's get straight to it. So, oh my gosh, this is so weird. It's gonna get the best of me. If you guys are like me or anybody else, I guess these days, you are definitely scrolling social media up and down, and especially the past weeks. If you did that, you might have come across Nakali, that girl that called the different religious institutions, mainly churches, and asked for help with baby formula, pretending that she has a 2-month-old baby and she ran out of baby formula the night prior. And in order to make it very authentic, she was playing the sound of a crying baby in the background while she was making these phone calls. Most churches denied her the help. They said they don't do that, or she's a scammer, or she's just not part of that community. Different reasons they gave, but they didn't want to help. A couple of churches did help that really definitely touched her. And then she made a phone call to a Buddhist temple.
Hi, yes. I was calling to see if you all could help with baby formula at all. I have a 2-month-old and she's been going without formula since last night.
Okay, so we're a Buddhist temple, so we don't have baby formula here, but there may be some community resources that do. Where do you live?
I'm like 10 minutes from you all, but I've called everywhere and they just keep telling me to call around churches and stuff like that. And I've called so many churches and nobody can help. I gotta turn my baby off. Okay, so this is actually a social experiment that I'm doing to test to see who would be willing to help a starving baby. And somebody requested that I call a Buddhist temple. And so yeah, you were willing to do what you needed to do to make sure a baby got fed, even though it's not what you all offer. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Yes, she did clarify it. She did tell everybody it was a social experiment. And then she called a mosque, and that touched her too, because the reaction was very immediate and prompt. Where are you? What kind of baby formula do you need? So she put out these information of these mosques and churches that she called and that were willing to help online, and people went crazy like the internet does. I mean, this video went viral. A bunch of, I don't know how many people saw it and started doing what the internet is doing best. You guys are just like crazy when it comes to investigating, finding out stuff, and I love it when it's for the right reason, when it's like about exposing somebody who needs to be exposed. I mean, I'm not down with the doxing, so that's like a whole different story. Like if you misuse that type of stuff, but if it's for something good, for the greater good, like in this case here, where there were a lot of people reaching out to these churches or also to the mosque. In this particular case that I want to talk about, I saw, like, I think it was like 4 or 5 days ago, where they had like over 500 positive reviews on that mosque. And then the mosque themselves, the imam, one of the imams of that mosque, he made a phone call because he had a missed call, so he returned a phone call, I should say. Check this out.
Hello?
Hi, this is Islamic Center of Charlotte. I saw a missed call from you, so I'm just calling back.
Oh, alaikum assalam. I actually
Assalamu
left a
alaikum.
voicemail too.
Oh,
My
I'm
name is
sorry.
Maya. I was calling from Houston. We, a group of us saw that you were on TikTok. Sorry, one second. I don't know if you're familiar
with the whole thing on TikTok going viral?
This is my third call today, and somebody mentioned it. So I don't know what to say. Subhanallah.
SubhanAllah, it's just so wonderful. We are just so happy to know that.
So yeah, he's receiving phone calls by people who are thanking him and giving him some positivity back, and he's touched by it. He said that he's receiving more phone calls. Let's get some more of this call.
Online, it's so incredible to see people feel so good that your first question wasn't, are you Muslim or any other things? It was just, what kind of formula do you need? And that's so beautiful.
That's what we're supposed to do, right? So I feel like they're giving us credit for something most Muslims do, I think. So, but I'm just, to be honest, I got tears in my eyes because you're like the third person I spoke to. The other two person were non-Muslims, and they're like, you touched my heart, and I was like, subhanallah. It's like I got tears in my eyes. I don't know what to say. It's like I feel like God has blessed me, and
yes, you guys, and this is something that a lot of people found very incredible, that despite this girl not being a Muslim, they were still willing to help. I think this is something that they didn't really get into the heads, like as much as, that's why I say it comes in a time where the war on Islam is undeniable, right? And when you have these kind of situations occurring, these kind of like nice gestures, or I should say normal gestures, it's normal to help people in need. I was thinking, how would I be if I work for an institution, I would get that kind of phone call. And I must say, I probably, even if my institution wouldn't do it, I would have a hard time declining that request. So it would come out of my own pocket. And I'm not saying that to portray myself as a great person or anything. It's just that humanity, we need to fight for humanity, y'all. It's been taking a big hit. Humanity's taking a big hit. There are things that are being committed and conducted these days that are very inhumane, and a lot of people stand with it. So we have to fight for humanity. It's still something. Humanity means something. So, and when it comes to this, like this guy, he felt very grateful for all of the recognition and the thank yous that they've been getting. And I understand that a lot of people like are in two minds about the social experiments on a whole, because they feel like, well, this is kind of like scamming. But she is not taking anything away from anyone. Literally, she clarified it. She made a call. She said what it was, and there are some social experiments who are really like on the brink of like, okay, this is kind of like almost immoral, but to prove a point or to get something out of it, I think it's very worth it. I do like, for the most part, I do like social experiments. They actually make people think. They actually make people raise some constructive criticism or even check themselves. And I say this, everybody needs validation. We all do need validation for what we do. And I'm not talking about all of these people who are feeding their egos constantly with compliments by other people, from other people. And that's why they kind of like pretend to be somewhere that they're not, or whatever the case be. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about every human being needs validation for what they do. But there's nothing more beautiful if it's absolutely 100% genuine. He was doing what he was doing. He had no idea this was a social experiment, and I had no idea, and I bet nobody had any idea that he would receive all of these phone calls thanking him. You know what I mean? So there's really nothing more beautiful than genuine and generous action, and that deserves to be rewarded by a genuine validation. Yeah. What kind of like annoyed me a little bit about it, I mean, again, people can do whatever they want, but usually what happens when somebody went viral with something, people start making it a trend. Now everybody's calling somebody and asking for baby formula or anything. It ran its course, y'all. Just drop it. She did what she did. It was great. And there's no sense. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't have the same impact now. It doesn't when other people start doing the same thing. It doesn't. Come up with what a clever social experiment, and it would be much better. Even she is saying like it ran its course, like that's it, done. Now let's move on, you guys, to the interim president of Syria, Ahmed al-Shara, also known as Julani. He recently visited the US and he was playing basketball with the military commanders. He was shooting three-pointers, and I tell you what, this is a great way to humanize him. Not gonna lie, they dehumanize and humanize people with their marketing campaigns beautifully. Okay, so a lot of people had a lot to say, right? Because this was not a grand arrival with a big press conference and whatnot. It was more quiet because only 3 days prior, on November 7th, they have removed him of the terrorist blacklist. He was on that blacklist for a very long time, over 20 years. He was affiliated to Al Qaeda. And you know, you guys, Al Qaeda, who? Al Qaeda. You guys remember, right? So he was part, and he started his own faction affiliated to them, HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams, and so they became this big rebel group. But now he's the interim manager, oh my God, president of Syria. He toppled Bashar al-Assad's, no, Bashar al-Assad's government last year, coming up to a year actually in December, quite soon. So, and then he became everybody's favorite. I mean, it was a very, very monumental moment for the Syrian population. It's a very emotional moment, a moment of relief, a moment of happiness and joy. And there's a lot of people who don't trust Giuliani, of course, rightfully so. They don't know what's going on, but people were overwhelmed with the moment of Bashar's fall finally after that long. But that's a whole different story for a whole different day, right? Now, he spent a lot of time in American Iraqi prisons. As I said, he had a 10 million bounty on his head. And now, this is what Trump had to say about him.
He's a very strong leader. He comes from a very tough place, and he's a tough guy. I liked him. I get along with him, the president, the new president of Syria. And we'll do everything we can to make Syria successful, because that's part of the Middle East. We have peace now in the Middle East, first time that anyone can remember that ever happening. And as you know, Syria is a very big...
So this so-called tough guy from this tough neighborhood, and we all had a tough past. Trump, what kind of a tough past you had, bro? Tell me about it. I really want to hear it. We all had a tough past. Delusion has to be classified as a mental illness, y'all. Literally. He said we all had a rough past. And then he proceeded to say, it's the first time there's like peace in the Middle East. Which Middle East are you talking about? The one where your homie Netanyahu attacks several countries within 24 hours? That Middle East where he attacks Lebanon and, you know, destroys neighborhoods? Or you mean that Middle East where he bombed Gaza into oblivions and killed over 100,000 Palestinians, women and children included? You mean that Middle East where there's Palestinians are being tortured in prisons and sexually assaulted to the point of dying? Or do you mean that Middle East where they just put a law in place that Palestinians in prisons should be executed? So which one of those Middle East are you talking about? I mean, or the one where parts in Syria are still being bombed? Like, I want to know which Middle East he's talking about. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I'm living in a different dimension, in a different universe. If so, please bring me back to Earth. Oh, no. Yeah, bring me back to Earth. Because if I'm living in a different universe and you guys are experiencing peace, please bring me back to your universe, because I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to be on this dimension. This is pretty bad here. I'll tell you that much. So Tom Barrack, a U.S. Special Envoy, had also a lot to say on X, formerly known as Twitter. He said that he's very happy about this remarkable transition of Syria. Okay, he commends Syria and the president, and he's very happy that Syria went from isolation to partnership. Syria now will actively help to dismantle the leftovers of the terror networks, right? So as I said, November 7, they took him off the terrorist blacklist. November 10 is when they lifted the sanctions of him, right? And this guy is now, this Tom Barrett guy saying this is history in the Middle East, right? Now that Syria joined the global coalition to defeat ISIS. ISIS, you guys, remember where ISIS came from, right? And he's saying this is marking Syria's transition. Okay? Because now that Syria joined and they signed this political cooperation declaration, with everybody else, it's a global coalition to defeat terror and make sure that there's peace in the Middle East. Now that they signed this, he's a global player. Like this guy now, he is on world tour, he was in Moscow and different places because he understands he needs to have the foreign backup. He needs to have foreign investment into the country to make it flourishing. So since Trump said that they're all working on it, making Syria, flourish and go. So it's interesting to see how this guy went from a terrorist on the blacklist, most wanted, $10 million bounty on a head, to a respected guy. Can we really believe that? Or is he just like another tool in the toolbox? You guys tell me. Now let's move on and let's resume the joke from last week, you guys, when I was talking about Hamas and Hezbollah in Venezuela. It was so far-fetched, but I thought, okay, so how do they start this? Because, you guys, I don't know everything. I'm learning like everybody else, and I just come and I just share my findings, and they will be bit by bit, step by step for the most part. So, yeah, anywho. So let's get straight into it. That is Lindsey Graham, a very, very vile person from the Senate. Check out what he had to say.
Venezuela is now partnering with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is running out of money because Iran is weak. We're not going to sit on the sidelines and watch boats full of drugs come to our country. We're going to blow them up and kill the people that want to poison America.
It's so vile to me how people get off on killing people. It's something I will never understand. Never, ever understand. Ever. And mind you, we're in 2025. We have AI. We have so much advancements happening in this world, but we're still barbaric, apparently. Okay. So Hezbollah now is part of the drug cartel. And who knows? I don't know. I wanted to know where this connection came from, right? Where does how did they make this rumor become bigger? What is this? Why are they saying Hezbollah or Hamas is Venezuelan backed? So, and that Iran is weak. That's something that he said as well. Venezuela and the Iran connection comes from a very, very long time, right? This goes back to Hugo Chavez's time. He was the prior president. He was president from 1999 to 2013. And then Maduro took over. And Iran and Venezuela have a connection because they are anti-imperialism, anti-the West, right? Particularly anti-America. So they had a good relationship already. And Maduro pretty much adopted Chavez's foreign politics, and that relationship continued to be tight, and they deepened it even more so over the past year. They have a lot of like economic cooperations, right? They have visa waivers. That's why they say, oh, like the Hizis can easily go to Venezuela and hide out there because there's, no visa needed, pretty much, like, then technological cooperations they have. So they have some stuff going on, like every other country as well, right? Because that's what countries do, right? They build connections, they build formation, they do stuff to make things easier for them, That's just something that is very, very normal. And the rumor of the Hezbollah being part of Venezuela's, drug cartels or whatever started because apparently Iran is expanding its influence, right? Because this is what I'm saying, like no country is allowed to have any connection with any other country if they don't approve it, right? So this is how the connection came to be, it was always there. And this is how they bring Hamas in because Venezuela has been outspoken about Palestine. And that's why they kind of like put Hamas in the mix as well. So it's the same story every day. They find something and spin a whole different story out of it. And let's go to Gaza. Okay. So Gaza, the ceasefire is obviously not holding. It's a fake ceasefire. People are still being assassinated. People are still being injured. There's still a blockade. People are not having food or anything. But at the moment, we have the Red Cross and some of the Al-Qassam Brigade looking for bodies under the rubble. And that is the Israeli prisoners that were held in Gaza. They're looking for the dead bodies of these prisoners with heavy machinery they got from Egypt. So they are like digging for those bodies and trying to find them. And while this is going on, there are like these little glimpses, this little moment of joy that the people in Gaza have and also use, right? Check this out. This is some celebration of the results of high school results, I should say. Absolutely beautiful to see them full of joy and celebrating something. These people have been going through the worst, to a siege for years and years upon years with very limited access to stuff, and now this full-blown genocide. Like, we're not even talking about 2014, 2018, 2021, 2022, and so on, where there were attacks on the Gazan population. We're just, sticking like now to the 2 years where they have been experiencing and enduring the worst. And I think we will never fathom and never understand how these people feel, what is actually going on inside them, and how they're coming to terms or dealing with this. I don't even think that they can deal with all of this yet. Because they're constantly on a go, constantly fear factor, constantly looking, constantly, having to pay attention, starving. And when people call this a humanitarian crisis, it's something that upsets me so much. It's also when it comes to Sudan or the Congo or Haiti for that, or let's even any place really. This is man-made. This is not a natural disaster. This is man-made hunger, starvation on purpose. Destruction on purpose. So absolutely beautiful. But it's that time now. It's that time of where they allow international journalists to enter Gaza, but only accompanied by the IDF and only behind the so-called yellow demarcation. Okay, this invisible yellow line, which they're trying to make visible with some yellow blocks and whatnot, mind you, they are still occupying over 70% of Gaza at the moment, right? And everybody who walks past this yellow line gets taken out. This is how they make it very clear you're not welcome here, right? This is now their territory, right? Something that they said in the beginning, they don't want Gaza. This is one of the biggest counter arguments they had. They don't want Gaza. Now they're taking it. These people, these people, like, you can only fool a fool. I'm not gonna lie. You can only fool a fool. All right. So, yes. Now, this is a CNN journalist that was in that occupied territory. Check out what he had to say.
Well, I've just arrived at one of the Israeli military's positions inside of Gaza along that yellow demarcation line. And you can see around me, the first thing that you notice when you arrive here is the enormous amount of destruction all across Gaza. We are in Gaza City's Shujaiya neighborhood, or what remains of that neighborhood. And we're told that that yellow demarcation line is somewhere along here, near some of these last few remaining buildings. But the fact
See, he's stating it. He's saying that it's people are being taken out if you cross that yellow line. This is the yellow line that is not really visible. Let's listen to some more.
But the fact that it's so difficult for us to even distinguish where that yellow line might be, even from this elevated vantage point, speaks to the challenges on the ground for ordinary Palestinians as well. We know that we've spoken with Palestinians inside of Gaza who have said that they simply don't know sometimes where that yellow demarcation line is. The Israeli military has begun to put down concrete blocks colored in yellow in order to try and show Palestinians where that yellow demarcation.
There is no independent investigation here. There is none of it. The journalists have a case before the Supreme Court of the occupational colony because they want to be able to conduct an independent investigation, but they're not allowed. They're simply not allowed. So all of this propaganda, whatever they were preparing and blah, 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 is literally just them being allowed in a certain area under observation of the IDF, and that's it. What kind of investigation are you supposed to conduct there? And if they do everything according to protocol, what are they scared of? It's insane. But we know what it is, so whatever. We're gonna stay in the occupational state, and we're gonna talk about organ theft. So Dr. Abu Sitta, he is that guy. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a conference very early on last year in Germany. It was about Palestine and what's going on in Gaza primarily. And he was one of the people who were supposed to speak at that conference, but he was held at the airport. He was kicked out of Germany and he was not allowed. He resides in the UK. He's a doctor in the UK, and he was supposed to speak on his experience in Gaza. But again, he was not even allowed to join via Zoom. And he was not the only one. There was other people kicked out of Germany to not attend that conference. Now he has proof of systematic organ theft committed by the occupational state. Hearts, lungs, kidneys are being surgically removed in a way that they are preserved. So this is, he says there are burn marks on the skin. These burn marks come through preservation chemicals, and these organs are removed surgically so that they can be transplanted, you know. And this is the thing, they have been doing this for years. This is actually nothing new. I don't want you guys to think this is like just some grand thing and like something new. You know what I mean? It's not. Damn it, this is when I get a phone call and I had to take it. This is a phone call I had to take. Okay. So sorry guys for the abrupt stop there. But yeah, so I was talking about these organ thefts. I don't want you guys to think that this is something new. It's not. It has been ongoing for years and years, right? And it's not just organs, it's skin as well. And primarily this is used for their own. Also like soldiers, when they get injured in these battles and they need like maybe an organ transplantation, or when they need skin because of burn marks or whatever, this is what they use it for. They steal it from Palestinian bodies that they have locked up in their prisons that they keep as hostages, whether from Gaza or the West Bank. And they have been, it's a procedure they have been doing this. And some time ago, there was like a big article, and we talked about it here, where we saw that certain agencies run by certain people from the colony are involved in organ sales on the black market around the world. Okay, so now we're going to stay with something crazy that the West is doing. They are taxing African countries. The West is taxing African countries. So the UN sends debt collectors to Western African countries because they feel they are entitled to some big time shmoney, right? And that shmoney is supposed to be loans that they took from the IMF bank. And this is something that I need somebody, again, I must be in that alternative dimension. Somebody bring me back. I need someone to explain this to me, right? So you colonize a place, you steal their resources, you assassinate that place's people, and I owe you money because now I have my independence. Explain that to me, because there is a part that I'm missing here, right? Or not? Like, how does this work? Right? They are there, these debt collectors are there in these Western African countries taking businesses to court for tax evasion. It's crazy. There are different tax laws implemented, like that's why we see what we see. But let's check out this video.
Western tax collectors to Africa to force the continent to pay their foreign debts. And this organization is called Tax Inspectors Without Borders. And if you think this isn't real, here is their website. They are implementing sales tax, minimum tax rates, taking African businesses to court for tax evasion, and they are bragging about the billions they collect from the continent. What the UN does is they send forensic tax auditors from the West to African nations to close loopholes, audit businesses, and implement tax laws that extract as much money as possible from the local population in order to pay back IMF and World Bank.
Yeah, you guys, this is insane, right? So these loans, I guess, informs that they receive these countries in aid or whatever. At some point, they want their money back because, they want the resources and they want the money and they want to colonize and they want to take the people out. Oh my goodness. Yes, so that's what has been happening, and this, as I said, sparked the protests, whether it's in Kenya, Madagascar, Morocco, Indonesia, like all around, right? Not just in Africa, Puerto Rico, because people are sick and tired of inflation. People are sick and tired. It's also like Nigeria. Let me include Nigeria as well. They are sick and tired of everything, just like going up in price. Electricity, tax, everything, right? People cannot afford life and people want equal rights. That's what they've been protesting for. And this is coming because these puppet leaders, for the most part, are forced to put these laws in places because the debt collectors are knocking at their doors. They're like literally there, So 70% allegedly of the government's revenues goes toward paying these debts. And then we're seeing in Africa, and we're going to talk about the Congo, right? We all know what's going on in the Congo, the ceasefire deal that they're trying to put in place with the help of Qatar and the US is not really sticking, pretty much, right? The rebels are not really like cool with it. And there was supposed to be some leaders from Congo and Rwanda was supposed to visit the US, but it hasn't happened. So it's not really manifesting, to be quite honest. But this is the funny part, right? Sometimes people get held accountable for their wrongdoings and for their crimes and war crimes, but never the leaders for some reason, or hardly ever. Like when we look at the Bosnian genocide, what happened with these people that were before the ICC in the early 2000s? Or what happened? What was the punishment? So this time we're talking about Roger Lumbala. He was a former rebel leader and a one-time minister in the Congo, and he is in Paris. He is charged with crime against humanity by the French authorities, right? And they're trying to hold him accountable for things he done in the early 2000s, like over 20 years ago, right? So this crimes against humanity committed by somebody that was put in place by who? I would like to know. He's a rebel group. Maybe he was rebelling the French occupation. I don't know, you know?
Him of involvement in summary executions, torture, rape, and sexual slavery during a brutal military campaign known as Effacer le tableau or Erase the board.
The Congolese justice system today is well organized and best placed to judge crimes that were committed on Congolese soil. Crimes whose victims are Congolese. This trial has been misdirected from the start, and on behalf of our client, we challenge the legitimacy of the French judiciary to conduct these proceedings in the framework of a fair and equitable trial, as required by international law.
I've been trying to get somebody from the Congo here to talk about that situation more, but it's not easy, you guys, to find somebody who's well-versed and able to give us good information. Okay, so the French authorities, as I said, accused him, and he did something crazy. In the middle of this hearing, he fired his lawyers. So they are charging him with torture, rape, involvement in execution, and sexual slavery, right? And in the middle of this hearing, he fired his lawyers when they were just about challenging the French prosecutor. What the lawyers are saying is, this is a Congolese man, and the Congolese legal system is very much capable of dealing with this themselves, right? This crimes committed in the Congo against Congolese people, so he should be tried in the Congo. And France is basically responding with, if he is not being punished accordingly in that or from his country, then that is now where this responsibility will be assumed by another country. And they are now the one that wants to, take him to court, bring him down, or whatever that is that they want to do. I want to see what's going on. There's the Rwanda genocide court case. I have to look into that, actually, what happened now. I think beginning of this year I was looking into it, but then I don't even know what came out of it, because these things are not covered by the media. The media is not touching these stories, unfortunately. Okay, since we're talking about holding people accountable, let's talk about this guy here, a former British soldier finally arrested, Robert James Parkes, assassinated Agnes in 2013 in Kenya, and the family has been fighting ever since. Check this report.
And if you're just joining us, I have an update for you. A former British soldier wanted by Kenyan authorities appeared in a London court after being arrested in connection with the alleged murder of Agnes Wanjiru in 2012 in Nanyuki. The soldier appeared at the Westminster Magistrates Court for extradition proceedings to begin. He was remanded into custody until his next appearance at the same court on November the 14th.
Okay, so let's take it back. So in 2013, Agnes was 21. She had a little daughter, and she was working in a hair salon with the dream of owning her own hair salon one day. And the conditions that she was living under and her environment, the money that she was making in that hair salon wasn't cutting to take care of her daughter and pay her bills. So she did some work on the side. She did some sex work on the side, right? And at that time, there were British soldiers in that same area for training purposes, right? And they were staying in a hotel that she knew of, and it was their last night, and she was hoping to pick up some clients or a client there that night to get some extra money. So she went there. A friend saw her. According to the friend's testimony, she was socializing, dancing, and after that she was never seen again. Her body was found heavily decomposed with a stab wound and a collapsed lung weeks later in a septic tank at the hotel, right? And in 2018, like nobody understood like what happened, what went down. So that story kind of like was weird. The family was trying to fight. But in 2018, amidst investigation, a friend of the soldier posted a picture of him in front of that hotel. And then this Robert Perkis guy, he responds with a smiley emoji, and there were jokes made about in reference to that septic tank, right? And the friend said, finally, that back then, he came to him that same night, and he was crying, and he confessed to assassinating Agnes. So he took him to the septic tank and he showed him, but nothing else happened. Like the friend didn't tell on him, the friend didn't contact any authorities, nothing happened. So it was, they completely failed this case, whether it's the Kenyan authorities, the military, the UK military, whoever was supposed to investigate all of this, they failed it completely. Now, finally, he was arrested in the UK and he has a court hearing because he is fighting his extradition. He doesn't want to be extradited. Kenya asked for his extradition and he wants to fight it, bro. I hope the past 13 years, I hope you was haunted by this girl's face. I hope that you didn't have 1 minute of good sleep. I hope that looking in a mirror was tormenting you. And I hope that whatever bad came your way in this 13 past years, I hope, oh man, I can't even like, I have a very, this is something that triggers me hard when people feel like they have the privilege or authority or whatever it may be to take somebody else's life, and then they have the nerve to want to get away with it. He wants to fight his extradition. Yeah, so I'm very happy for her daughter Stacy, who is also part of this fight, you know, that her family has been really you know, standing strong on to get her justice. It's not going to bring back her mom, but at least it's going to get one of these disgusting, vile individuals of the raid. I don't know. I don't even know. I get really. Let me move on. Let's talk about Sudan for a second. There are protests happening about Sudan. They've been going on, but I hope they kind of like amplify now, and I hope they become more and bigger. Complicity in Sudan is really something that's very interesting to look at, right? The UAE is supplying arms to the RSF indeed, and the West is complicit indeed, because a lot of these weapons are coming from Europe. It's France or the UK. And this is the reason why we find French weapon or military equipment on the ground in Sudan, okay? Now, the UAE invests a lot of money. It's like the biggest cash cow, to be honest. And they invest in different industries in different countries all around the globe. Like, let's take this example, $2 billion into Trump's family-owned crypto called Trump Corporation, right? They committed to invest over $1 trillion in the US over the past, over the coming 10 years, okay? And they also buy a lot of equipment, military equipment from the US, literally a lot. And again, some of it comes from Europe as well, right? So they not only investing in the US, they also investing in Europe as well. And there is a UN imposed embargo on Sudan, but that doesn't, like stop the UAE from supplying them the weapons. You know what I mean? So it's still like it's still not doing anything. It's still not doing anything. That arms embargo on Sudan is not going to stop the UAE from supplying them weapons, right? And the UAE is one of the world's biggest oil exporters. All right. And again, they invest big money. This is the key thing into building also like a renewable energy. They are aiming to export green hydrogen. They are involved in so many different areas and industries, strategically place themselves there. So the West is not gonna go against them, say anything against them. They kind of like pretty much let them do what they're doing and hearing their support, right? They are considered an important security partner in the region because now that they're pulling out a lot of their own troops, they kind of like give that work or cooperate and collaborate with regional people like the UAE, for example, right? Like one of the biggest US Navy ports is owned by the UAE. And so this is how they have some type of, stand in that area. And this is actually really crazy because money makes the world go round, as we know now. If you invest, you get away with stuff, apparently. Okay, we're staying in Africa. We're going to talk about Mali, a place that people really barely talk about. There are a lot of rebel fighting the Mali army, backed by the Wagner groups in Mali. It's a lot on the Algerian-Mali border, but also in other places as well. The Al-Qaeda, pay attention, the Al-Qaeda affiliated group Jenin has brought the economy to a complete standstill. There is nothing going and flowing in Mali anymore, right? There's no food, no nothing coming in for the people. They're literally getting nothing, and they are forcefully removing people and displacing people. There have been 1 million people displaced over these years, the past years, and now even 300,000 more, because they are going to these villages and they are forcing the people out. They're telling them, if you don't leave, we're going to treat you like the enemy. So they burning villages down, they are assassinating people, and people are fleeing left, right, and center. And they're all heading towards the Mauritanian border, where there are makeshift camps for these people to stay. And check this out.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be starting this bulletin in Mali, where the situation has sharply escalated. An ongoing blockade by the Al-Qaeda-linked group Jenin has brought much of the country's economy to a standstill. This as fighting between non-state armed groups, the Malian army, and their Russian-backed allies intensifies. Communities have been cut off from supplies, and in some towns, fighters are ordering entire villages to leave or be treated as the enemy.
Yeah, you guys, you see, and this is a place that people don't even talk about. It's not touched by the media. It's not touched by anyone. Mali there was a coup in Mali, I think, was it 2021 or 2022? Assimi Goïta now assumed the presidency of Mali, and Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have left the Sahel coalition, and they're pretty much doing their own thing. They kicked out the French. Of course, the West is not just going to accept it. So there is a lot of tension. There's a lot of violence going on over there as well. People are being starved as well. Another human-made humanitarian crisis. So it's very important that we highlight these places as well.
To leave or be treated as the enemy, meaning hundreds of families continue to arrive at the Mauritania-Mali border. Well, our regional correspondent, Caitlin Kelly, reports from a makeshift camp between the countries. Let's take a listen.
Just a few kilometres from here lies extremist-held territory, where fighting between the Malian army, its Russian
I'm going
ally...
to close out this session, I was going to say. I want to close out this episode with highlighting a very brave individual, one of the brave individuals that we still have in this world. Mary Manning is her name. She's an Irish woman who stood in business in the 80s against apartheid South Africa. He refused to sell fruits from South Africa. Check this out.
What do Israel, Ireland, and South African grapefruits have to do with one another? Well, back in 1984, this Irish shop worker refused to stock or sell grapefruits from apartheid South Africa. Her protest sparked a historic strike that lasted almost 3 years and ended with Ireland banning imports from apartheid South Africa, making it the first country in the West to do so. This is her today, Mary Manning. And now, amid the genocide in Gaza, she's calling out the Irish government for failing to cut ties with Israel.
I don't know what's taking. Let's hear some more from this report and the beautiful Mary Manning.
I don't know what's taken the government so long. I mean, the government are sitting back and putting their heads in the sand the same way they did in 1984.
I met up with Mary outside that very same Dublin grocery store 41 years to the day after she took that stand against apartheid. She showed me the plaques outside commemorating the 1980 strike.
In honour of those who took part in the shop workers' strike against apartheid.
And your name is there?
My name is there. There was actually 9 women and 1 man.
9 women and 1 man.
It's always...
You know what, you guys? It's just crazy. Like, you know, like she was saying that she was leading this, but she was not on her own. She had help from 10 other people, 1 man and 9 women. And again, I'm sick of this disclaimer. I'm not a feminist per se, not according to these days feminism rules and agendas. Why is it always women have to be at the forefront of all of these movements? You guys should be ashamed of yourself. Where are all the men, the real men I'm talking? Right? So she's still holding the same principles when it comes to Palestine, and she is calling out her government. Ireland is the world's second biggest trader with Israel when it comes to goods, and now the government is working on putting a law in place to ban these trade deals. I really hope it goes through. And she's basically 41 years later, she's still calling out her government. She's not tired. She's not retired. Like, I did my deed back then, I don't need to stand up now. No, she's not like that. As you guys can see, she is alive and she's kicking, and she is still very vocal, and definitely needs to be highlighted. She's amazing, very, very brave. People, you guys can see one voice can make a difference. You bring 10 more voices in and you can make a bigger difference, and so you grow, right? And she was considered a troublemaker with her colleagues back then. She was considered somebody, you know, those people who never speak up, people who just want to like sweep everything under the rug because it's uncomfortable, because they don't want to make, like to bring up have the uncomfortable conversation. They don't want to hold people accountable. They don't want to expose people's actions. You can have that at work, for example, where people just like overlook injustices just because it's more comfortable, just because out of pure selfishness. And this is what happens a lot. And she was ostracized, and that's normal. And she was okay with it. And so were the people who were standing on business with her at that time. And I wish we had more people like that. And I see like we have more people who are doing a lot of amazing things in the name of activism. And unfortunately, you have the trend writers as well. But this one here is for the people who are actually out there moving, doing things, speaking up, and not hiding. With that said, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening to me and being here. There was a question I wanted to answer from the comments, but of course I forgot. So now, if I remember, I'm going to have to write it down, and I'm going to have to answer next time if I remember. Anywho. I really do appreciate you people, and I'm out of here. Peace out, and see you guys next week. Salam alaikum.